how does the PMRC fit into this? And I'm talking about the Parents Music Resource Center, run by 3 Washington wives. One of them was Tipper Gore. There was a famous hearing where Frank Zappa, my buddy, I wish I could have met him. When I get to heaven, he's one of the people I want to look up and ask him a couple of questions. He had a great line, because they were saying, the music you're talking about incites X, Y, and Z. And Zappa said, I wrote a song about dental floss, but nobody's teeth got any cleaner. So right there, Zappa is taking the opposite tack from those who think that music is a means of social justice. Folk song writers, folk singers, protest singers want it to change. Zappa didn't. Okay. So just a couple of other questions. Does protest music, or music that's going to change society or change whatever, does it always have to be the music of the vernacular? Can art music fit into that? It's not as easy as, well, for 2 reasons. Number one, art music has a very vertical market. It's one, you know, if you have the horizontal market where you have all this stuff out here that everybody will buy, and then you have that one little thing over here which is art music, classical and jazz music, that has it. It's the stuff Griffin and I play.
I was going to say, then you have this like hairline thread that's classical saxophone.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a dot.
Right. That's one reason it can't affect as many people. But the other reason is that art music often is instrumental without a text, without a lyric. And it's the lyric in the music that gets the message across. But I sense that I get this feeling that somewhere in this equation, art music has a place. I'm just not sure what that is. Maybe Dr. Perry could enlighten us on that. Some other things to think about. Is religious music a sense, does it have a sense of changing society, or changing traditions, or challenging traditions? I know that religious music, the most important reason for it to exist for me is that it helps me find a spiritual center of gravity, if I can just keep coining that term. That's what the right kind of religious sacred music can do for me. It helps me get in that place where I can listen to what God's telling me. The fact that I can make other kinds of music that don't do that for me, that's okay, because if I can help somebody else find their spiritual center of gravity, that's a good thing. Derek and I are going to perform at the UPC on sometime in March. We're doing this, I call it Sister Mary Hummenstrom at the Catholic Church. I play, it's sort of Smothers Brothers without the humor. You know, there's nothing, and one day Derek called, he said, let's do Kumbaya. And I looked at him and I said, and I thought, I went to Eastman? And after it was over, 2 people from the congregation came up in tears. They were so moved because we had done Kumbaya. And so I kind of had a reality check. You know, it doesn't have to speak to me, but if it speaks to somebody else, then it's okay. So where does religious music find its place in changing? If we think of churches, they are being challenged by the new, what's the best way to put it? The non-traditional, you know, well, we cynically refer to a lot of the music in churches now as Jesus in Vegas. Nobody has a hymn book anymore. It's all up on a screen.
Praise music.
Right, praise and worship. And my son Tim is into Christian rap. Yeah, right. Some guy named Righteous Beat. Beats me. I don't understand.
There's one here, religious rap. Where does your son?
Where does he hear it? He goes on these youth retreats with people from his church, St. Aloysius. And I think they brought this guy in to perform at one of these retreats for 6,000, kids that are getting a little charismatic. So that kind of music, I'm sure the Reverend would agree with us, is pushing the bounds of what is traditional, the way we look at church music, hymnody. Is it the music or is it the message? Is it the music or is it the text? So that's really, I just wanted to throw those things out there and see what anybody thought. Oh, there's another thing that we haven't talked about and that I'm probably not qualified to speak of is gender topics. Music, in other words, the Dixie Chicks, all-female band, now making a significant political statement. That's worthy of some study from a women's gender studies kind of perspective. So all those things wrapped together. We've got historical elements of Tom Lehrer, and who thinks, it's not making any change. We're just preaching to the converted. We've got Frank Zappa, who's saying, I wrote a song about dental floss. Nobody's teeth got any cleaner. And we've got the guy who wrote Solidarity Forever. You read the lyrics, and it is a galvanizing set of texts. Each verse, actually some of the contemporary people who sing that song leave out two of the verses because they're pretty, they say some pretty unkind things about the business world. And of course that will affect sales, so we often, you want a blue suit, I'll turn on a blue light. That's what they think. So, what do you think? Dave?
What do I think? I'm thinking music is more prophetic in speaking truth, or singing truth, or playing truth, or playing on emotions and such. May not change people, but it reflects. And
does it reflect society, or is it a pipeline?
Maybe more of that. But when I say prophetic, in the sense that it's speaking truth, like I am woman, hear me roar, and that was too large to ignore, or whatever. But maybe not changing anybody into a feminist, but saying this is the way it is, and this is the way it's going to be. And maybe some of these songs are prophetic in that sense, somewhat reflecting society, but also showing society how it ought to be. And it may not change legislation, but it can get the groundswell of people living or understanding something.
Yeah, something you said earlier about gelling the will of the people. That's exactly what I think. All the examples you've mentioned seem to me to be a reflection of what's already going on, perhaps under the current, but the song then pulls together all the people who already were thinking that way and gives them an anthem for whatever the issue. I Am Woman is a perfect one. Another one that, when you were talking about World War II, I was remembering all the songs that were created to sell bonds.
Yes.
And the spirit was out there, we want to help. The American people, we want to help. That gave them, it brought it all into, here's a way you can help, and everybody knew how to sing the bond songs.
I'd like to ask the historian in here, Gaines, do you have any historic, no.
I have no thoughts.
That's okay.
Being basically tone deaf. No, I think, I was trying to think of songs that had, I mean, the Civil Rights Movement, it wasn't necessarily the text or the lyrics, but their ability